Good day, everyone. My name is John Reyes Longay, your first reporter, and Peter Paul Daog would be your second reporter. Our task this morning is to discuss Unit 4, which is all about Personal Protective Equipment or PPE. By the way, we have 4 learning contents in this report. What is PPE? What is the role of PPE? Categories of PPE, and examples or types of PPE. So, what is PPE? According on our report, it is an equipment worn by a worker to minimize exposure to occupational hazards by acting as a barrier to shield the worker from hazards. So, ang PPE, ito yung bagay na magprotekta sa isang worker. Gaya na lamang ng pagsuot ng helmet kapag naroon sila sa workshop. So, ang isang worker ay gumagamit ng helmet upang maiwasan ang mga kahit anong babagsak na mga metal. Kay basin og mahulugan ang ilang ulo. So, it is very important that the worker used helmet. So, that is an example of PPE. So, it includes respirators. Ang PPE, it includes respirators. So, respirators, ito yung mga bagay na sinusuot ng workers para maiwasan yung pag-amoy ng mga chemicals. So, halimbawa dito is yung pagsuot ng mask. Then, another is gloves, aprons, full protection. As you can observe sa mga dagko nga mga building, ang mga worker, they are using full protection. Katong taas kay nga PC, bitaw nga magbitay sa building, yun ay isang halimbawa ng full protection. Kay dito mao to ang gigamit sa mga worker para hindi sila basta-basta mahulog. Full body suits. Then as well as head, eye and foot protection. But PPE does not reduce hazard, nor does it provide complete protection from the worker. So ana diri, ang PPE daw does not reduce hazard, nor does it provide complete protection from the worker. Meaning, we should still be careful even if we are already wearing PPE. So hindi ibig sabihin na gumagamit ka na ng helmet, maglakaw-lakaw na din ka dira, magpatungod-tungod na dayon ka sa mga posible nga mahulog ng mga metal sa imoa. So dili dapat ang worker mauna ang iyahang karakter, because ang PPE dili siya mag-save sa imong life, sa imong life totally, because ang PPE isa lamang siya ka shield nga mo protekta lang para dili kung in case nga mahulugan ka, at least dili ra kaayo tama. Ingon ana lang siya ang PPE. Then, what is the role of PPE? In any safety program, priority should be given to the elimination and control of the hazards at the source. When a hazard cannot be eliminated using engineering or administrative controls, PPE should be used a barrier to protect the worker. PPE reduce the risk of injury but not the risk of the hazard. So, klaro kayo. So, in a workshop, naaman joy mga bagay na dili na to malikayan sa isa ka workshop. Gaya na lamang ng kung mahulog na dira ang isa ka puthaw sa ibabaw. So, kung kulang ang administration sa usa ka workshop, ang rule sa PPE siya ang mo protect sa worker. So sa halimbawa sa na-mention na lang nako ganiha nga like sa helmet, nga kung naay mahulog nga mga puthaw sa ibabaw, kung nagamit ka og helmet, dili ra kayo sakit or dili ra kayo dako ang epekto sa imuha inig mahulugan ka kay nakagamit ka og helmet or other PPE equipment. or materials. PPE can reduce the risk injury but not the risk of the hazards. Another is we have 7 categories of PPE. So ang PPE gi-categorize ni siya into 7. These are head protection, face and eye protection, hearing protection, full protection system, respiratory protection, hand and arm protection, protective footwear. So, ang head protection, to protect against materials falling from height or swinging objects. So, ang head protection, ito yung ang mga halimbawa na lamang ng mga head protection, ito yung mga helmet, mga, kahit anong pang hindi ko nalalaman. Then, face and eye protection. It is very important that you wear this protection to prevent serious eye injuries. So, isa sa categories ng PPE is face and eye protection. So, example dito is yung goggles para maiwasan yung injuries ating mga mata. Then, hearing protection. Naasab ay hearing protection. It is to protect your hearing and to protect you from noise induced hearing loss. So, in a workshop, kung as you observe, sa mga dagko kay nga kanang workshop, grabe ka kusog ang kanang mga makina or mga equipment nga ilang gipanggamit. So para dili sila ma-harm sa kakusog sa noise, gumagamit ang mga worker ng hearing protection. Dili tong mga headset. Then next is full protection system. Na-mention ako nga dili tong mga headset kay naamang uban po mga workers nga kung sabaan sila magamit sila og headset nga naitug nakatud yung headset nga naitugtog, which is not good kay kung in case nga unsay mga mahitabo dira gitawag baka ka sa imong mga kauban kay naay nahulog sa ibabaw, imbis nga makalikay ka nabungol na ka kay naminaw ka sa music sa kakusog sa imo ang music na hinuon nga gi-play sa cellphone. So next, we are going to proceed. Full protection system. It refers to all measures and devices used to prevent fall from occurring. Full protection system, ito yung mga binanggit ko kanina, like in a workshop, yung mga worker natin, kapag nagtatrabaho sila sa malalaking building, gumagamit sila ng full protection system. Yun ay examples nito yung katulad ang PC na magbitay kung magtrabaho ang mga worker, then ihikot sa ilang likod, mo tigid natawag og fall protection system. Then isa sa halimbawa din ng fall protection system is yung sa Bisaya tawag na to siya og damba, para didto mo masakay or maglakaw ang tao kapag meron silang ginagawa, like nagpipinta sila, then nag-add sila og kanang cement or hollow blocks, dito sila naglingkod kay lisod pod ang ilahang gi-adan og hollow block to ana sa second floor, then ang tao kay nara sa first floor. So gumagamit sila ng full protection system. So next, respiratory protection. To protect the individual wearing against the inhalation of hazardous substance in the workplace or air. So ang mga respiratory protection, ito yung binanggit ko kanina, yung gaya na lamang ng paggamit ng face mask. So in a workshop, it is very important para bitaw dili ubhon ang mga worker, malikayan nila ang mga baho sa mga chemicals. Dapat magsuot sila og face mask para maiwasan sa nila ang mga abog o kahit pa ano pang mga hazard na nasa workshop. Then hand and arm protection. It avoids your skin in any absorption or harmful substance, electrical dangers and cuts. So hand and arm protection. So isa sa categories sa PPE is hand and arm protection, which is very tawag ani oy, which is very common is gloves. So sa in using gloves, dako kay siya ikatabang sa worker. Halimbawa, naa ka dire gikat, kung wala ka na gloves, kung imong huna, for example, ang worker dahan kay huna, dili na to malikayan nga ang worker na ay problema, dili lang siya sa workshop. So halimbawa kung ang worker is nagabas siya, lahi ra gyud tong magabsan ka nga wala kay gloves, kay dako jud kay to siya og epekto sa imoa. So if you can get my point, kamo na bahala mo sabot. So mo ibot pasabot nako nga lahi ra gyud tong nagsuot ka og gloves, kay kung magabsan imuha magabsan ba ka or malingkawas ang gabas, dili ra that all man sa imong kamot, pero dili ra jud dako ang damage didto sa imong kamot. So last one is protective footwear. So it is very common in a worker that they are using protective footwear to protect your feet from falling objects. So ang mga worker gumagamit sila ng boots, if you're familiar with this, para maiwasan kapag kasi halimbawa nagpanday ang isa ka worker, mahulog ang martilyo, baka dili ra didto mo hagtok jud sa ilahang tiil, kay nagamit sila og protective footwear. Mao ni ang example is boots, wala man ngali shoes. We have shoes din sa protective footwear. So kapag gumagamit sila ng boots, kapag may mga matutulis na mga bagay na mahuhulog, hindi kasi natin maiiwasan sa mga gawain yan o di kaya may mahuhulog na mga maiinit na gaya na lamang ng kung halimbawa nagluluto ka, so dapat naka-shoes ka ng yung mga makakapal na shoes, which is examples of protective footwear, para maiwasan yung pagkalapwa sa imo ang tiil. Then that's all about my report. Then Peter Paul Daog would be continue the rest. Thank you.
So, good day, everybody. I am Peter Paul Roy Daog. So, I am going to report now the examples of PPE. The first one is the face protection. So, these face protections are goggles and face protections that must be used when at risk from flying particles, liquid chemicals, acids, or caustic liquids, and chemical gases. There are various goggles for face protection with certain design criteria for safety. But before we proceed to the classification of the face protection, let us discuss first what is face protection. So, face protection, as the word itself, it implies that it protects the face from chemicals. So when you are in a workplace where the use of chemicals are involved, this is very useful because there are chemicals that would really harm you, not just your face but also your life. It might take your life. So with this face protection, you can avoid splashes from chemicals that would certainly damage your eyes or your nose. So that's it. So let's go to the classification. So there are classifications, I think at least 4 classification of or 5 classification of face protection. The first one is the laser safety glasses. So as the word itself, laser safety glasses, these are glasses that are intended to protect your eyes. So the selection of these laser safety glasses is actually based on the laser wavelength and power. So if the laser wavelength or is higher, then it would be the laser safety glasses are become more capable of protecting your eye. So the second meaning is protective properties can be found printed in the eyewear. The third are not these laser safety glasses are not also as effective as laser safety goggles at filtering all light entering the eyes. So it is sabotable, no, that these laser safety glasses are not really effective in protecting your eye from higher level of um, light that would enter your eyes. So it says here that the laser safety goggles are more efficient in filtering the light that would enter your eyes. So, um, laser safety glasses are only intended for those not very powerful laser wavelength because it will really not protect your eye. So, maybe you could use laser safety goggles. Next one is the chemical splash goggles. So they, as you can see, as you there are, goggles as well or glasses as well that would protect the your eyes from laser, but also there are also goggles that would protect you from chemical splashes. These are intended anytime a splash of chemical or infectious substances could reach the eyes. So this is very useful, no, these are very useful when you are um, working in a workplace that involves with liquid chemicals. So you have to wear this in order to avoid damaging your eyes. These chemical splash goggles can actually act as goggles, impact goggles to prevent flying debris from reaching the eyes. So, pwede po siya no mahimong impact goggles nga mo-protect sa imuhang mga mata if there are flying debris that would fall into you and will protect your eyes. So next is the impact goggles. So the impact goggles, as I have said, same with the chemical splash, no, it would also prevent you from protect you from flying debris. So these impact goggles are only intended for flying debris only. So the next one is face shields. Our face shields, so common, no, since we are in the midst of pandemic now, where face shields are useful. So, face shields required when splashes from chemicals that can cause immediate skin damage are handled. So, like for example, you are working with what concentrated acids, dispensing liquid nitrogen, or sonicating, sonicating tissue samples, and etc. So, these face shields actually protects the whole face, not just the eyes, but the whole face. So as you can see, as you have heard, very sabotable, no, it is very required for us to avoid um, immediate or direct skin damage from chemicals. Now let's proceed to foot protection. So these foot protection are safety shoes with impact protection that are used in work areas where heavy objects or tools could be accidentally dropped on the feet. So safety shoes with puncture protection are required when working around nails, wire tacks, scrap metals, and other objects that would pierce the feet. So foot protection are have different classifications as well. So there are safety shoes that would protect you, that would protect you from heavy objects that would fall directly on your feet, that would cause damage, right? Kaya pwede mabali ang imong tiil if there are flying debris that would fall directly to your feet. So the other one is the safety shoes, the safety shoes that would protect you from punctures. So baga-baga ni siya since it would protect you from piercing from nails or wire tacks or scrap metals or kanang masamad, dali ra ka masamad, no, it would really protect you. So let's proceed to the classifications of it. So these classifications of the footwear are actually have different markings with its criteria and intended application. So the first one is the green triangle. it has R on it. So green triangle, actually this indicates sole puncture protection with a grade 1 protective toe cap. So it intends to for I mean for heavy industrial work environments, especially that of construction where sharp objects such as nails are present. So these marking or certain footwear, safety footwear, are used for heavy industrial work environments. So if you are working in a metal industry, so you really have to work this where um, there are metals that have nails on it. So you really have to use that in order to protect your um, foot. So the other one is the yellow triangle. This indicates sole puncture protection with grade 2 protection toe cap. So these are for light industrial work environments requiring puncture protection as well as toe protection. So this is not really the these certain safety footwear which is yellow triangle are not that the same with the green one, because the green one are used for the heavy industrial work environments, while these yellow triangles are only for those light industrial work environments. Like for example, you're working with a construction only, so construction that would involve with not really heavy materials, so you have to wear this in order to protect your toe and to avoid punctures. The next one is blue rectangle. This marking of safety shoes are indicates a grade 1 protective toe cap with no puncture resistant sole. So this intended for industrial work environments not requiring puncture protection. So these are the kinds of industrial environment or workplace that does not really have a high possibility of puncture incidents. So like for example, when you are working in a construction company and putting a roof on a house, in order for you not to slide down, so this blue rectangle marking of a safety shoe, you have to choose this because it does not involve puncture protection. The next one is the gray rectangle. This gray rectangle indicates a grade 2 protection toe cap with no puncture resistant sole. So these are for industrial and non-industrial work environments not requiring puncture protection. So same with the blue one. So next is the white rectangle with orange Greek letter omega indicates electric shock protective footwear. So this intended for industrial work environments where accidental contact with live electoral conductors can occur. So the warning is electrical shock resistance deteriorates with wear and in a wet environment. So these you have to choose this safety show safety footwear where it has marking of a white rectangle with orange Greek letter omega if you are working in a company or in industrial work environment that are really prone to accidental with live electoral conductors. So and also this will protect you from if the your company or the workplace is if the workplace floor is wet and there are high possibilities of electoral shocks, so these safety footwears will protect you from that certain um, danger. So the next one is yellow rectangle with black SD letters indicates static deceptive footwear. So these are for industrial work environments where a static discharge can create a hazard for workers or equipment. So warning, this footwear should not be used where contact with live electrical conductors can occur. So the other one is the yellow it indicates sole puncture protection with grade 2 protective toe cap, which is super static deceptive footwear. So what are these for? These are for industrial work environments where a static discharge can create a hazard for workers or equipment. This footwear should not be used where contact with live electrical conductors can occur. So same with the other one, but this yellow rectangle um, yellow rectangle indicates sole puncture protection are those safety footwear intended for a super static deceptive um footwear. So the next one is the red rectangle with white C letter indicates electrically conductive footwear. So these are for industrial work environments where low power electrical changes can create a hazard for workers or equipment. So the warning here is that this footwear should not be used where contact with live electrical conductors can occur. So the yellow rectangle with black ST letters and the yellow rectangle that indicates sole puncture protection and the red rectangle with white C letter markings of a safety footwear, you really have not to wear this in a workplace that are directly involved with electrical conductors that can cause dangers. I mean, you should not wear this because these types of or classification of safety footwear are only intended for those workplace that has that has low electrical shocks. So the next one is the dark gray rectangle with M letter that indicates metatarsal protection. So take note that toe protection is required for all metatarsal protection footwear. So what are these for? What are these for? So these are for industrial work environments where heavy objects can hurt the metatarsal region of the foot. So when we say metatarsal region of the foot, these are actually the bone that actually connects with the bone and to the up to the your toenails. Yeah, so these have to be protected in order for you not to get um, injured with this with caused by heavy objects. So the next one is the white label with green fur tree symbol footwear provides protection when using chainsaws. So these are for forestry workers and others who work with or around handheld chainsaws and other cutting tools. So these are these types of footwear or safety footwear that you must wear or use when you are working with chainsaws and other cutting materials or tools. Okay, so let's move on to the hand protection gloves. So these are required to protect your hands from cuts, scrapes, punctures, burns, chemical absorption, and exhaust temperatures. It is crucial that the type of glove being used is the right one for the job. So you have to take note that in certain types of job, there are also intended gloves to be used in that. So let us go with the classification of this hand protection. So the appropriate selection of gloves is essential actually to protect your hands. Chemically protective gloves are one of the most important tools to minimize dermal exposures to chemicals in research laboratories. So when you're working in a research laboratories, you really have to use the type of gloves that would allow you to avoid the dermal exposures. Like if you are working barehanded, no, kay bisag unsa ra man jud imong hikapon, magika-pick up ka daw sa imong hikapan, it might be chemicals or other biological hazards. So you have to use these different types of hand protection. Gloves should only be used under the specific conditions for which they are designed, as no gloves is impervious to all chemicals. So it is also important for you to note that gloves degrade over time, so they should be replaced as necessary to ensure adequate protection. If you see that your gloves are old enough, so you have to replace it um, for better protection. So laboratory personnel should use the information. Hello. Wala tayo affiliates katong laboratory ha. Okay. So let's go with the types of it. So the first one is the light latex, vinyl or nitrile gloves. So this light latex actually comes with two disposable latex. No, it can be powdered or unpowdered. So the use of it is by that when you are working with biological hazards such as like human body fluids, tissues, blood-borne pathogens, or specimens and etc. You really have to use this um, disposable latex. So the next one is the disposable nitrile. These are for puncture and abrasion resistant, protection from splash hazards. So the use of it is when you are working also in biological hazards and chemical splash hazards. So the disposable vinyl or the economical durable similar to latex are when you are also working with biological hazards. Or what are these biological hazards? The BSL1, BSL2, BSL2 plus, and BSL3. So the next one is the light chemical resistant gloves. So these are the natural rubber latex. Now let's move on to hearing protection. So these are appropriate ear muffs or ear plugs must be made available as a last resort if it is not possible to make the workplace less noisy. So the requirement is a small part of the occupational noise exposure standard, which requires employers to ensure that workers are exposed to less than 90 decibels of noise over an 8-hour period. So here, it is not necessarily um, it is not necessary for you to wear this hearing protection if the workplace that you are working with is has less noisy, because it will not really damage your ears. But if you are working with a in a company or in a workplace that involves with high noise, that is for you in a 8-hour period really exposed with um, high noise, then you have to wear this kind of ear muffs. So as mentioned earlier, it should not be exposed, our ears should not be exposed with less than 90 decibels. So let's move on to the types of ear muffs. I mean hearing protection. So the first one is the disposable earplugs. So these are the polyvinyl chloride or the PVC or polyurethane foam, one-time use design. So no cleaning. So it is only for one-time use. It is one size fits all, lightweight, low cost, which means baratura, blocks all sound. Useful when working in areas where sound levels average from 85 decibels. So with this, we for more information, no, you just browse or search the EH and S assessments for you to understand more about this. So these polyvinyl chloride or polyurethane foam types of disposable earplugs are actually baratura siya, and also it will blocks all types of sound. Kana bitong ginasuksok lang siya diri, kanang ginasuksok lang sa dalunggan, which is mura siya og tampon mangguro to. Yeah. So next is the reusable air plugs. So silicone tampered feet reusable, which is when we say reusable, you have to clean it over time. So next is corded. I mean these silicone tamper these reusable earplugs are corded or uncorded. So it comes with cord or not cord. Lightweight, the same with the disposable earplugs, and it is more durable than disposable earplugs. It is also useful when working in areas where sound levels average over 85 decibels. So the last one is hearing band. So these are the earplugs connected to a flexible band that can be worn around the neck when not needed. So these are very useful when working in areas where sound levels average over 85 decibels. So when you are not working, so you can just unplug it in your ear from your ears because it has this kind of flexible bands that would so that it will not fall. Now let's move on to respirators. So these respirators are appropriate respirators that must be worn as last resort if it is not possible. So when we have a PPE, we also have a RPE. When we say RPE, it stands for respiratory protective equipment. So as the word itself, respiratory, so it involves with different types of masks that must be worn out when you are working in a workplace that has hazards that would damage your respiratory system. So let's go to the types of respirators. So the first one is the surgical masks. So it will protect you from against large droplets and splashes. So actually these there are types of there are types of respirators that are needed for fit testing. Why? Because if it does not fit to you, useless lang gihapon kay musulod ra gihapon tong mga powdered chemicals that would powdered or the mga aso-aso that would damage your respiratory system. So the use of surgical masks is that when you are working with live animals, working with infectious material in BSL-2 plus level labs, but only protects your sample from you, not the other way around. So it is not that really used for it is not really for intended for a very high level of infectious material. So next is the N95 respirators. So this protects against dust, fumes, mists, and microorganisms. So these type of respirators must be worn must be worn with after fit testing. So when are we going to use this? So when you are working with live animals also or infectious materials in BSL-2 level labs with known airborne transmittable diseases, like for examples when you're working in a hospital where tuberculosis are rampant, so you have to use this kind of respirators. Next is the half mask respirators. So these half mask respirators actually purifies airs. So it protects against a variety of particulates, vapors, dusts, mists, fumes, depends on filter cartridge. Cartridge. Lagi. It depends on filter cartridge used, and it also requires fit testing. So when are we going to use these half mask respirators? So when you are working again with live animals or infectious materials with known airborne transmittable disease, dusty environments, chemical vapors, and particulates. So if there are diseases that are contagious through airborne transmission. So you have to wear this kind of respirators. So the next one is the full face respirators. So same as the half mask with greater protection factor, eye mucous membranes and face protection depends on filter cartridge used. So it also requires with fit testing. So when you're working with live animals again or infectious materials with known airborne transmissible disease, dusty environments, chemical vapors, and particulates. So same with the half mask respirators. So the last one is the respirator cartridges. So these are for use in half masks respirators and full face respirators. So um mura ni siya og you cannot use this without the half mask respirators or the full face respirators. So you have to, and before also you can have the half mask and the full face respirators, you also have these cartridges. Kay mura ni siya og magbara, mo ni siya ang murag to protect you from this has biological hazards. So it is only for dust and organic vapor for fumes or organic solvents only. Acid gas, vapors of hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, and etc. So the next one is the head protection. So it comes with three different kinds of head protection. The first one is the protective helmet or the hard hat. So it must be worn in all areas where there is a potential hazard exists from falling, flying, or thrown objects. It should be inspected after an impact and discarded if damaged. So these kind of protective helmet are intended for falling objects that are heavy. So if damaged na siya no nabuak na, so it should be discarded, it should be replaced, and it should also be inspected if if na na nahagbungan na siya, if nagamit na siya no kanang nahagbungan na siya og falling debris or heavy objects. So you have to check that. So the next one is the bump caps. It is not a helmet. Why? Because it only protects you from impact with stationary objects. So what are these stationary objects? These are objects that are static only, no, like for example a wall clock or a picture frame. So that mo na siya. So if the whole place is shaking because of earthquake, there is a possibility that these stationary objects might fall. So with that, if you're wearing this kind of bump caps, you are being protected with that. Though that it does not implies with high chance of danger, but still it causes hazards. So the next one is the hair and beard protection. So why do we need this? Because when you are working in a workplace that involves with a machine that would let your hair entangled with it, so you can be protected by that. So it should be cool, lightweight, and washed regularly. So there are also other types of head protection. So what are these? So let us have a little trivia. So according to Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or the OSHA, a hard hat must be worn when working in areas where there is a potential for injury to the head from falling objects. So in addition, a hard hat must also be worn in working areas where there is the risk of exposure to electrical conductors that can potentially contact the head. So there are types of hard hats that you must be worn when you are working in a electrical company. So this hard hat impact protection is actually divided into two, the type 1 and the type 2. So what are these type 1 hard hats? So these are intended to reduce the force. So pakwaan niya tong force from that falling object or the impact of that falling object from a blow only to the top of the head. That's it. So this form of impact, for example, may result from a hammer or nail gun falling from above. So that's it no nga pag mahulugan og hammer, it would likely to reduce its impact kay bugat biya ng hammer. So the next one are the type 2 hard hats are intended to reduce the force of lateral impact resulting from a blow which may be received off center from the side or to the top of the head. This form of impact, for example, may result from contact with the sharp corner of a side beam. Kanang maigo ka sa mga kuano sa mga certain edges, so it will protect you from that. So there are also hard hats or head protection that would protect you from electric. So the first one is the class E or electrical hard hats. These are actually designed to reduce exposure to high voltage conductors and offer dielectric protection up to 20,000 volts, that is phase to ground. So this amount of voltage protection, however, is designated to the head only and is not an indication of voltage protection allocated to the user as a whole body. So since we are only saying we are only mentioning the hard hats here because when we say hats, this is only intended for the head. So it does not protect you from electric shock that would directly come to your body. So it only protect you from those type of wires that has electrics that would directly come into your head. So mo ni siya ang mo reduce for exposure. So next is the class G or the general type of electrical hard hats. So these are designed to reduce exposure to low voltage conductors and offer dielectric protection up to 2200 volts phase to ground. So as is the case with class E hard hats, this amount of voltage protection is designated to the head only and does not count for voltage protection allocated to the user as a whole body. So same with the class E, it does not also protect you. It does not also protect the whole body but the head only. So then the last one is the class C or the conductive hard hats. So differ from their counterparts in that they are not intended to provide protection against contact with electrical conductors. On the contrary, class C hard hats may include vented options such as the MSA V-Guard 500 hard hats, which not only protect the wearer from impact but also provide increased breathability through their conductive material such as aluminum or added ventilation. So those are the types of head protection. Now let's proceed to the face shields. So na-mention na ako na siya ganina no, the face shields as part of the face protection. So let us just discuss this not that broad. So face shields will protect the face and neck from flying particles, liquid sprays, molten metal, radiant energy, and it should be worn with safety goggles. So wearing these face shields are not enough, but instead you also have to wear goggles to ensure more security. So these face shields does not only protect the face but also the neck. So as you can see there, it protects you from that liquid sprays or other kinds of corrosive substances. So the next one is the fall protection system. So it comes with two. The first one is the passive fall protection, which includes systems such as nets, meant to catch a falling worker, also protects workers under the area from falling objects. So these are when you are working in a workplace or in a company nga nag-involve siya og kanang magsakasaka ka and there is a high tendency that nga matagak ka, so you have to use this kind of protection. So the next one is the active fall protection. This includes with safety belts, fall assisters, harnesses, lifelines, or shock absorbers to slow a fall. So mo ni siya. Same with the passive, but this active has more kinds of protection or other parts that will protect you. So the last one is the body protection. So these are usually this body protection equipment is required in the following cases. So what are these for? So for protection against weather conditions when working outdoors. So if nag-work ka ng sa kanang magbitay-bitay ka like for example kanang magkuan sa building magtrapo og window, so if the weather conditions is bad nga taas kayo kuan ang hangin, so it will protect you from falling. So next is the ensuring the high visibility of users when they work in areas where there is a mixed vehicle, like for example bikes, motors, cars, and buses, and pedestrian traffic. So makit yeah. So for users protection against extreme temperatures, so this will also protect you. So ensuring protection against entanglement, drowning, chemical contamination, and etc. So what are these examples of body protection? So the first is the life jackets, clothing for specific weather conditions, high visibility clothing, harnesses, and others. So as you can see, no, riders that are driving in a highway are actually wearing this kind of jackets no nga makita jud nimo siya nga ay like for example yellow green, like if the masigaan siya og suga or makuha siya og suga musigas pud siya so that they kanang ang katubang nimo nga katagbo nimo nga vehicles will see you nga nagpadulongpog ka, so it is high visibility. So that will be all and thank you.